If you're just joining us, it's still Enterprise Friday on Enterprise Television. Heading to the main conversation.
A concerned Nigerian security expert says there must be a thorough investigation into the arrest of Bashir Hadija, a former aide to the Minister of State for Defense, Ibrahim Matawali.
Very true. Mohammed Kareto stressed that the investigation must be professional and transparent to uncover the circumstances surrounding Hadija's alleged involvement in banditry and insecurity.
He noted that Hadija connection to top politicians, including the president, make it essential to ensure a thorough probe to avoid any perceived cover-up. Karato referenced a video showing Hadija displaying large amounts of gold, questioning its origin.
And moving on, he commended security agencies for arresting Hadija, a high-profile individual, and urged them to dig deeper to uncover what he said could be underlying issues.
Karato believes that getting to the root of the matter is crucial, especially given Matawale's previous indictments. He stressed that Nigerians are eager to know the truth and that a thorough investigation will help in the fight against insecurity and banditry.
And moving on, we've got about 3 analysts joining us via Zoom today. And we've got one with us in the studio. And starting, we have Olajumoke Alawode, James, who is a media strategist and influencer. Good morning to you.
Excellent morning. It's great to be here.
Yeah. And moving on, we have Eze Eluche. He's a lawyer and a public affairs commentator. Thank you for joining us, Eze Eluche.
Thank you very much for the invite.
And lastly, we've got via Zoom, Peter Ame, a former chairman of Inter-Party Advisory Council and convener of Coalition for Democratic Reform. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, High Chief.
Good morning, High Chief.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much.
And with us in the studio is our very own barrister, Evan Tufeli. Good morning, barrister.
Good morning, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the crux of the matter here. Of course, it involves insecurity. It's involved, the need for us to have a serene Nigeria, which, of course, it's important. We must have a sustainable country. Now, let me start with you, Barrister Eze Eluche, and it borders on all of this. Knowing that Ibrahim Matawale is a current minister serving with this administration, and one of his aides is indicted. Of course, there is a call for a deeper research to know his involvement if possible. Please bring us up to speed on this, if you may.
Well, I think it was one of the military head of things who once said, once military banditry or terrorism last more than 24 hours, that the government is involved. The reality of this is that Matawale's presidency was known. When he left Zamfara as governor, he took over 20 cars with him. He actually stole over 20 cars. And of all Nigerians, the person that Bola opted to the Minister of Defense was this man who was next to married. So it's not surprising when characters like that now have elements who are also negative in criminality in their as aides and then now recruiting all manners of atrocity. But what should worry us more is this particular state where this man comes from, Zamfara State. For over 3, 4, 5 years now, Zamfara has been involved in ethnic cleansing of genocidal proportions, which is underreported by the Nigerian media. And this is all about mining rights, about mining gold, mining all manners of minerals. So this is just a tip of the iceberg. The arrest of this young man are not going to come out of the surely. Absolutely not. The arrest of this young man is just the tip of the iceberg. And we expect that this government is not in the capacity, it's not even in the mind frame to do any of this. If you recollect, even the sitting vice president, Kashi, the senator, not too long ago, a kingpin of Boko Haram was arrested in his house.
It was actually alleged, a barrister.
I don't think anything come out of this investigation. It just one of those things Nigerians should guard their loins and realize that these are the characters and the highest echelons of government, and their aides are all bound with people who are very unscrupulous elements. They dig in, make us neck deep in banditry and criminality. The other unfortunate thing that was very, very unfortunate in Zamfara, Kebbi, and Katsina, the booking one died en masse. And then the Nigerian media, like I said, is very little because we're not reporting the level of heinous atrocities going on there. Let me point to that other side.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, moving over to you, Jumoke. You are a media strategist, and I believe there is a limelight. This is actually putting out Nigerians out there, or Nigeria as a country out there. Now, there is an analyst that said that efforts should be provided headway to fight against insecurity and banditry. I'm quoting him, and he said in Nigeria, pointing out that every act or any act of negligence or attempt by the government to cover up the case will give a bad name and a negative coloration to the government, considering that's Adija's familiarity with top-ranking politician. And looking at the sitting, his boss is currently sitting on one of the top positions in the country. Do you think that there will be any difference?
No, I don't think there'll be any difference. Nigeria's reputation is already damaged. I mean, throughout the campaigns in 2023, we saw how different exposés were flying around about our current president's antecedents in the USA, with all sorts of allegations thrown at him from certificates to feature based on, drugs trafficking and things like that. Even the current Senate president had a running battle with the EFCC for years. We have asked over and over, where has his case got to? The current Chief Justice of Nigeria also has, issues based on the tribunal in Imo State and how a contestant that was in fourth position became the governor, So from the top, they say when the top, the head is rotten, the rest of the body will be rotten. Going quickly to Zamfara, Zamfara's gold became for Zamfara under Governor Matawale. He resided in Abuja because Zamfara was insecure. A lot of analysts felt that the insecurity was pretty much because there were different factions of terrorists fighting for control of the gold. And the governor came on national TV holding gold bars and said, you see this gold, we are going to reserve for our children's children. I'm so surprised that any of these aides, somebody who decides to be honest, or maybe has fallen out with the former governor, now Minister of State for Defense, come out and tell us that this person is stealing gold, or he's fraudulent or he's corrupt. I'm not at all surprised. And I absolutely agree that I don't think that this case will go anywhere, except people like Barrister Evans Ifedi, who likes to take on public issues, will take the matter to court, defend this young man and ask that justice is served. Aside from that, I'm not expecting magic.
Okay, Jumoke, sorry.
It is.
Sorry to cut you short. You've actually stated your point, and you are a media strategist. Now, I want you to look at it from this angle. If they know they were going to sweep it under the carpet, why did they think they brought it out in the limelight the first time, for the first leg? Why did they think they took that first step?
Like I mentioned, the aides may have fallen out with the governor, or is a deal gone wrong. I asked for something, they didn't give it to me, or it got sacked. Whatever reason, only they know. But it's to Nigerians' benefit that they keep on exposing themselves.
Okay.
All right. Let me move on to High Chief Peter Ame. For the optics, and I think it's very important that we make this known. A gold bar, as at today, is worth $1 million. So we're talking about a very lucrative business here. But of course, if you look at the northern part of Nigeria, insecurity is perennial. And of course, it's been ravaging that part of the region for a very long time. High Chief Peter Ame, I don't know, at what point did we get it wrong, especially from the north? Now knowing that some of these people brandish their loot in the open, and of course the military and security architecture, and doing anything about this, how do you think we can resolve this issue?
Thank you. The first thing that I actually stated, facts that are, you can contradict, and the fact that there are a lot of other cases previously that Nigerians have never seen the light of day. Also makes one afraid that this one will not go anywhere, because they are obvious. Because Nigeria too, as it is, have what they call shortest attention lifespan on any issue. And because of that, the lack of such focus on issues that they undermine our progress and our development, those elites who have now, come to the point of state capture, we continue to manipulate the processes, continue to suppress the information, continue to act in the best interest of those in government rather than in the best interest of the people outside. The North is the most devastated, underdeveloped region of this country. They had more power, more opportunity to be in charge of this country, but they are deliberately thought to be wise to use certain negative approach to undermine the interests of their people, the interest of our citizens or in the North in government. But today, the North is now ungovernable even for those who have done that. And it is very dangerous because Zamfara, another part of the North with the huge mineral resources that contributed seriously to the development and growth of this country, if we are next. But I believe that there are a lot of state capture and those who have interest, who are manipulating this process, like I've ever said, are also benefiting financially from these illicit transactions that go on in these regions that are become ungovernable. Because there's nothing, I tell you that if government really want to settle the issue of the banditry and the exploitation of our resources, illegal exploitation of our resources in North, government will be able to do it. Government is deliberately looking elsewhere. I do not even see the experience and whatever criteria that will be to make Matawale the Minister of State for Defense. When I have so many, I don't see. It is just beyond politics. It is within the realm of political patronage. And we can't get the country right when we look away from competence, experience, ability, and capability of handling issues to be able to be appointing people. Because we are planning for the day we got into power without having legitimacy. We are planning for the next election to be done in the same manner. So for us to get it right, citizens' approach is very important. Citizens' advocacy, activism, and participation is very important because when citizens continue to persist, those in government continue to work stronger and become more important to suppress the interest of our collective good. So for us to get it right, citizens must participate and continue to ask questions. Stop being as if we are in our time to go die. Everybody's going to die one day. So it doesn't matter. The quality of your life you live matters a lot. If you live a very well, deserved and well appreciated life for a period of 60 years, you should be happy. Not that you're going to live for 100 years and you will not enjoy any amenities. There's no electricity. Nobody talks about fiber anymore. Nothing. The country is just running on autopilot. So government has failed Nigeria. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you.
There's conspiracy in government to continue to suppress our interests. There's conspiracy in government to continue to allow those who are guilty. We citizens, because they say whatever you did, the people's voice is God's voice. Whatever the people collectively sees and say, oh, this is criminality. Because the people are reward people who are good. Like citizens are rewarded who are good in the past. Not that we are incapable of being good or incapable of recognizing good. We are not. But the fact is that people are so wicked because of how government has suppressively used poverty to strengthen their authority and hold on their power.
Thank you.
If we want to make this country work, those in government must also have a scorecard for the next election. Election is very critical. Nigerians must start to look at what is happening. That there's a conspiracy in certain part of the North with government to allow our resources there not to be accounted for, not to come into public purse, and to go to private pocket.
Thank you.
To stop that, we must be ready for 2027 election by asking for an amendment to the Electoral Act that would provide that the vote of every man will count.
Very true.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, let's get over to you, Barrister Philly. Now, it's believed that there is no smoke without fire.
Yeah.
And it's been believed that there is a link between banditry, gold, and politics.
Yeah.
And looking at the way banditry issue have been swept under the carpet, before now, they've actually called out top politicians that are in line with terrorism in the country, and nothing was looked into, or nothing, they were never brought up for questioning. And at this point, looking at the current state of Nigeria and how it is in the north, and Hadija now is up for trial, or let me say questioning. And do you think this would ever, at this point, are we going to say that Nigeria would never, at this point, experience peace again, especially in the north?
How do you experience peace when you are not working to tame violence? Okay, look at Tinubu's appointments. All Tinubu's appointments are compensatory. if you look at Buhari's government, you know, we had 1 or 2 ministers that were working. Amechi was working, even though it was loan all over the place. Then one other minister, I can't remember, yes, was working. You know, we see visible work. In Tinubu's government, which minister or which appointee in this administration that is working? The minister for interior that was making attempt, we only got to know that he's also linked to some criminality. And now that has doused his passion. Okay, so apart from that, what else again is working? All the appointments are compensatory. Let me tell you how Matawale got there. Now, Matawale, under his watch as the governor of Zamfara State, all land in a state is entrusted to the governor to hold in trust for the people. Now, every resources beneath the soil, okay, belongs to the federal government. Okay, now under his watch, banditry overran that state. And he left the state and came to Abuja. Now, when they were discussing about this criminality, he took side. He took side. And when he took side, the bandits who were at the other side came together to ensure that the state is made ungovernable. That was when he left the state. You understand? He failed as a governor completely. Apart from other scandals, he failed as a governor. Now, when that happened, the bandit also overran Katsina. You remember when the former governor of Katsina State was crying to the federal government and the public? Yeah. You understand that he has no security in his hand, and that the president, his hometown, is overrun by, and nothing is happening. Then Buhari was not also aware of anything. You understand? Now, having failed as a governor, having not been able to control your territory as a governor, why should you be compensated with a ministerial position? Because what Tinubu did was, those who worked for him and those who laid down resources, Matawale had so much resources then to be able to galvanize his people to vote for Tinubu. So the compensation is now what you have. Now, compensation, it doesn't, see, the politicians don't care whether you are competent or not. We are the ones who look at these issues academically. And then we are trying to profile solution. As a leader, you must know how to appoint and know how to put people in places that will make things work. We are the ones looking at it like that. In the head of Tinubu, it's transactional. It's business. Okay, help me tie down those ends. Help me tie down this loose end. Tie down here and here. The aftermath of that, if you succeed, is a ministerial appointment, an appointment to be a DG of an institution or other. That's how you got all the likes of Betedu and other. Why is it that they cannot prosecute her? Because the appointment was compensatory and transactional. Even when she's failing, you'll just be looking at her because she has contributed one way or the other during the campaign. So when you have that kind of arrangement, things cannot work. Violence will continue. Now, anywhere in the world where you have gold and diamond, you have violence because of the economic endowment in that solid mineral. Look at Sierra Leone. Remember Freetown and the diamond mine. Okay, look at India. Okay, that's gold. Okay, you see the criminality built around it. Then, you know, in the late 80s, 90s. Now to Nigeria, it is because of that diamond that will birth this new layer of criminality called banditry. You understand? And these whole resources that are supposed to be our commonwealth, that are supposed to project the image of the country and to create prosperity for all and sundry, some persons have hijacked it. Why they are looking at the Niger Delta to provide crude for the country? But the north in Zamfara, the resources is meant for criminals and their likes. So when you look at this kind of economic injustice, you will see how you cannot have peace in the nearest future. Okay.
Yeah, because I had wanted to ask you, Jos is actually a peculiar case. It has been solid minerals for a very long time in Jos. We've not had such upheavals as bad as we still have it in
what you have, the crisis you have in Jos, you may not be able to link it to solid minerals.
Definitely.
Okay. But we've been told it's ethnic. Sometimes we are told it's political. Sometimes we are told it's what do you call it now? Tribal wrangling. You understand? In John's situation, the problem has not been diagnosed because it depends on who you ask. Some will tell you just about land, that is feudalism, that the natives sold their lands out and they are trying to get back at.
But obviously not solid mineral.
But what you have in Jos is iron ore.
Okay.
Okay, it's not gold, it's not diamond. Iron ore does not have that that huge impact in terms of you can't gold when you harvest it. It's almost like the finished product.
Very true.
Upon when it's refined. Okay, so it has its own violence and nuisance value. Okay, and that of Jos, those who are mining those things illegally are majorly natives who feel they could take it up and all that. But in this other case, you have gun battle. You understand? People taking territories when a governor who is supposed to have authority has failed. So if you fail in a first assignment, for example, you are asked to repeat a class. If you fail in an exam, you are not promoted. But in Nigeria, if you fail in your first appointment, they'll give you a higher one. That's exactly what's happening here.
All right, let's go to Barrister Eze Eluchie. Of course, we talk about prosecution and ensuring that those who are guilty should face the wrath of the law. Judiciary is the last hope of the common man. At the 32nd inauguration of the President of Nigerian Bar Association, Mazi Afam Osigwe, he mentioned something. He said he was going to ensure that the judiciary gains back its lost glory like it was before. Do you think, as a barrister, that the judiciary will ensure that this is nipped in the bud with the prosecution, that is?
Well, the fact is, our was just talking about making none of many made that comment.
Really?
Because they have the power to make the kind of changes he wants. And then, this lady who made a comment said the current CJ so came in, and despite the fact that there was already a travel, the US Embassy reportedly visas for wrong conduct for democracy, the Muslim election, and all that. So the thing is that Nigeria has been captured. Rogue elements have captured Nigeria. And the three arms of government, the executive is led by somebody who paid fine for who forfeited over $460,000 for drug theft and money laundering offenses. The legislature headed by the Senate president, who was undergoing criminal trials by the EFCC, was made the president of the Senate, and now the CJ. So Nigeria has been captured. But what should worry us more is the capacity of people who are placed in charge of very serious ministries, like Matawale. Matawale, despite his baggage, is now in a position to decide the movement of troops, where soldiers get to, where soldiers commit crime, get deployed. And then you now wonder, are we to trust these soldiers who are moved on orders of this kind of character? Why am I saying, let me give you an example. 3 days ago, in the same Zamfara city, in Mutusi village, the villagers fought bandits and killed over 30 bandits, injured several.
Really?
And what does that tell you? Because we know how these bandits come in. They come in with AK-47. So if villagers can repel bandits attack, killing over 30, that tells you that these villagers in Zamfara are also equally well armed, because we do not use day guns or catapults to shoot or kill these bandits who are armed with AK-47. Why am I giving this example? In other parts of the country, people have asked, allow us to bear arms to defend ourselves. And this same government, headed by the same character, failed to allow villagers in Benue, Taraba, Imo, and other parts of the country to bear arms to defend themselves. But in the same time, the villagers in Mutusi were able to defend themselves from bandits. So, my dear, we are in a deep mess in this country because the people at the helm of affairs at the highest level of government, particularly this Minister of Defense, who can be said to have criminal tendencies is now in a position to decide where and where soldiers or the Air Force or whatever goes. That is why the Air Force have the temerity to come out and tell Nigerians that they have been bombarding the creeks where people are producing refining crude oil to diesel, and they cannot go locate where bandits are. But they can pinpoint, they proudly tell us they are bombing locals who are trying to get out the living, even when the referendum are not work. And they are doing this under the command of the same character, Matawali. So the whole issue that we have to put a stop to the mess Nigeria is becoming, and I'm not sure we can lose next election. Because that is too long, because certainly childhood will die. Who knows how many villages or how many days will be wiped out or ethnically cleansed. Mr. President was trying to give reasons for the Jos issue. My dear, what is going on in Jos in the Middle Belt region is simply ethnic cleansing. Because what happens in those areas where the villagers, the town, the owners of the indigenous people are moved up, you see these militarized herdsmen come in and take possession. They will begin to farm in those areas. So do not think it's about iron ore or whatever. Iron ore is not like gold. Iron ore has to be processed. Iron ore needs a lot of equipment. And you don't just go and dig ground and pick up iron and convert it into iron. No, that's not how it works. So what is going on in the movement area is simply ethnic cleansing. People are being killed and their lands taken away from them. And then will you expect a Machiavelli to come in and help those people? No way. He's not going to do that. And I agree, my opinion. Mr. Tinubu wants to calculate there because we have an idea of what comes out of gold. Say, okay, Mr. Man, if you be there and no more comes out, get there as Minister of Defense and make sure you take my economy. Because like I agree with you, Tinubu is simply transactional. He has absolutely nothing about nation building or national unity or national movement. And what if he was concerned, Nigerians simply cannot wait till 2027. Something has to give. Because the terror, the killings is taking serious and with a serious dimension. And we're not very, according for us in Nigeria, the world is engaged in several other crises. In Gaza, in
Ukraine.
In several other places. We have to take our destiny in our hands and put a stop to this nonsense and say enough is enough. Because the characters who are ruling this country do not have interest of mind in that. They can buy here, increase price of stock, but then they will find it difficult to remedy or to correct wrong. So please, let us not think of election.
Thank you.
The mind frame we always want us to think about.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, High Chief. At this point, I want to ask because there's a song we sang a few years back. Which way, Nigeria? Which way is the best way to take out of this present condition of predicament to find ourselves in this country? What is the solution you prefer?
For me, there are no way solutions apart from people who are good intentions to the part of politics. And the major problem is that when people say politician, like my fellow brother was in this politician speech, we should all be politicians. Because the only way we can save this country, because there's no other way to get to the ballot than through election. And as soon as they're going to contest for election, you become a politician. And the fact is that if we must have more people at the National Assembly, because as it is, our three arms of government are being submerged into one. We can no longer differentiate between the judiciary, from the executive to the legislature. So that we need to separate it. And it's for people who are into advocacy, activism, knowledge, educators, professors, to also say, yes, enough is enough. I will pick up a bomb. I will participate in this process. I'm popular within my community. So that we can create an atmosphere where people can work for the good of mankind and work for the citizens of this country. One thing is certain, that if we don't participate in 2027 radically and participate in a way that we must redirect the ship of state to sail towards a progressive station. Let me tell you, Nigeria is heading for a more greater disaster than what we see. People come to government, approve. You cannot imagine that in at this very austerity, it was a very difficult time in the history of our nation. We have elected people who are already profiling and approving resources for their own comfort, for their own in the National Assembly to build car park, to buy vehicles for first aid office, to buy health, to buy every tax, go to computer.com. Every tax that is advertised there is 2012 production is advertised for $45 million. If one our president bought is 2009, and they say they pay $100 million for the used one. The average price for a used one is about $18 million. And if you want to now say that you want to buy a new one, you are going to be then you have about $460 million. You can get a new A3 tax. So why are we buying an airport of A3 tax in 2009 for $100 million and retrofitting for $50 million? That's about $150 million to spend. Why are we doing that? We have an airplane, a Boeing bought by our is 19 years old. One thing with an airplane, they don't usually get old. What is proper maintenance, proper retrofitting, and putting them back in shape? You know, so you is 19 years old. The one American president is using is 33 years old. So we don't have a bad friend that our president cannot use. But they have this habitual attitude to get into the government and become comfortable and enjoy luxury at the expense of the Nigerian taxpayers. So citizens must start to know that the right to change this country. Don't be waiting for anybody from above to come and change it. It is us that God has put here. It is us that is living here. It is us that is suffering the consequences of impulsive, irrational policy decisions of this government that wakes up and removes subsidies without structural plan, without policy paper on ground, without environmental impact assessment of what it will have. It was us that is suffering it as a people. It is us that the government who want to do a policy decided to do policy of precision with our naira. As I talk to you, can't even go to Cotonou and say you want to buy a small vehicle that ordinary men will do to Buga in 2019, in 2019, 2019. You cannot longer buy it. What I'm telling you is that because one naira is about 2.72 seconds. So then that one is higher than ours. So we have a problem, and the only way forward is through election. And if election must happen, there must be, everybody must be willing that this country is either we save it now, all of us decide to wait till our dead time come. And we must all participate and vote. Fully unit is across every community. Everybody belongs to one fully unit. So you must do advocacy at that point and let people understand. Where our problem is that don't the government already know that they are going to use government resources to canvass for election. They are going to use government resources to share rights in rural communities where people are less interested, where people don't know what is happening. They are going to share banking. I know what happens in rural communities. If you talk about metropolitan cities like Lagos, Abuja, people are very sound. They know what because is talking about the inflation. They decide that. They can tell you what demand, what supply and demand. They can tell you all this. In these rural communities, they are made to feel that whatever government does is favor. That if government bring borehole, you are favored. If government, that's why you see governors go to commission borehole say, I have helped you, I have given you borehole, you should be grateful. That's why you see that. Because our governance system has become so elementary that it's no longer about government for the people. It's not government for those who occupy the seat of government.
Beautiful.
And most of them are so irresponsible. They do not believe in democracy. They do not want to entrench democracy. They do not want to promote democracy. And they want to act in the interest of democratic governance.
Thank you.
It is their responsibility to sit down as a people and say, enough is enough.
Thank you so very much. Just before we coast home for today, Jumoke, I'd love to ask you this. When we talk about leadership responsibility, we can't paint a perfect picture in all of this discussion without, of course, calling on one name, and that's our president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And of course, not just Matawale, the Minister of Budget and Planning, is also indicted for lots of other things. How is it that all of these things are in the open, and still we have a president who has decided to look the other way and have this man as part of his dignitaries serving him in the office, and of course serving Nigerians in its entirety?
When I was describing the corruption cases or allegations against the president, Senate president, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria, I was absolutely describing state capture. Um, for some people like myself, I've viewed out of Nigeria for the next 4 years. Like I mentioned earlier, I do not expect any magic. I'm not looking out, except, the miraculous happens, except the people, because what this is about governance for the people, except the people say we are not going to wait for the end of 4 years before we demand good governance. I do not expect anything from the President Tinubu's administration. But I didn't expect anything before he got into power, to be very honest with you. And from his appointments, from the ministers, it will interest you to know that the substantive minister for defense, right, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, you will never hear him when they're talking about kidnappings in the north, or banditry, or terrorism. But last week Saturday, he went to Jigawa State to go and commiserate with them for flooding. That's how you know that he's in the wrong position. Substantive minister of defense in a state where you can hardly travel from Lagos to Ibadan, from Abuja to Kaduna. Well, you can hardly travel within Borno without being kidnapped. Same thing in Katsina. In a country where insecurity is right, our minister of defense is going to commiserate with government. Sorry about this flooding. Then ask me about other governors. Ask me about other ministers. I mean, what are they doing? I absolutely do not know. They were compensated, so they only do what they wish to do. So if you then look at 1 year of President Tinubu's tenure to predict the remaining 3 years, and if by error, by commission or mistake, we allow them and say, oh, they're going to use government, of course, and continue to perpetuate themselves in power, but for the next 7 years, the market does not expect anything. We'll continue to cry hunger, we'll continue to protest, but except and only until the people stand up as one. They found a way to divide us across ethnicity now, our beauty fights ourselves. Oh, is the Igbos against the Yorubas? Oh, is the obedience against the Badis? They always find something to distract us, unless we, come together as one, against all odds, and say, this government must be for the people. Nothing will change. I expect it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jumoke. Over to you, Brian, to fill. Let's get your pattern shot actually. In summary of everything we've discussed here today, what would you like to tell the ministers and the president on how to sit up and do the right thing?
I would rather go back to the story, because in that story, before we forget, the DSS is being called out to ensure that this matter is properly investigated. Now, for the man who made the call to the DSS, I'm very sorry. Is the DSS answerable to Nigerians? That's the question we need to understand. Can we all protest, move from here to their office over there in Magodo to say that we want this matter properly investigated? Can we do that? You see, the DSS, they are not answerable to Nigerians. They are answerable to the presidency. They are meant to provide security for the presidency. Okay? But who elected the president, or who does the president represent? Is it not the people?
Definitely.
In the scale of things, the man who is calling the DSS to make sure this is properly investigated look like he's doing something out of place, but it's the right thing. All of us should focus on the DSS. Now this is our responsibility to ensure that we have proper investigation and prosecution. Okay? If the people don't rise up to say that this matter must be investigated and want to get to the root, the politicians or the leaders they will sweep it under the carpet, and something else will happen again, and we'll start to run up and down.
Sorry to cut you short, but we had a protest early this month.
Yes.
And Nigerians came out in their numbers all around the country.
Yes.
To protest for good governance.
Yes.
We've not heard from the president, and we've not been listened to, or the citizens have not they've not been addressed. At this point, do you think even if the citizens should go to the DSS office to question them, they would actually listen?
Of course. Whether they listen or not, I'm saying that we should not focus on the president to resolve this problem. He cannot resolve it, because he's part of the problem he came to solve. He claimed he was coming to solve. He was the one who came and then magnified our misery. Before this president got into office, we were buying tubers of yam. Now they are cutting it. They cut it for you. We're almost like counting beans to sell. Go and buy akara, because I like to be grassroots. Go and buy all those stables and see where we are as a country. So this man came and destroyed the country, destroyed everything, and at the end of the day, the citizens rose in protest. He's not able to even address the issue. That's why I said that this man is transactional. The day he was supposed to address the public, the protesters, he left all the demands and then he was talking about something else different, which is to tell Nigerians that this is going to be a long night. Okay? We elected a behemoth. Okay? One who is a businessman, who have no business with public policy, who all the scandals against him, from certificate to Ando to Malta and all that, have we investigated? Is DSS investigating it? Who is investigating the police, or who? Exactly. So we're in a very big problem. And when we called Nigerians during the elections, because part of the duties of public affairs analysts, lawyers, and what we're doing today is to sensitize the public. When we told them, this is not the way to go. Vote this way, vote this way. They went to the polls and sold their votes. They sold their votes. They came out, even they brought in ethnicity into it. In Lagos, if they ask you where you came from, they'll ask you to leave the queue. At the end of the day, they are not crying. They are crying, they cannot eat, they cannot do anything reasonable, their children can't go to school and all that. So where are we exactly? Why do you sensitize this country in a way that, I mean, even if, as we were not considering that the people voted the right way, was INEC ready?
Beautiful.
Was INEC ready to take the people to... Because what happened in 2020, as far as I'm concerned, was a democratic coup. That's what happened. INEC was working in a criminal concert with the APC. Nobody's talking about that. And then they dragged the judiciary into it.
Because I wanted to ask you this, because I wouldn't have allowed you leave without bringing the judiciary into all of this.
They dragged the judiciary into it to legitimize it. And that is what happened. Was there any election? There was no election. So at the end of the day, we are all complaining and crying to the high heavens. We are part of the problem that we are discussing here today. So until we get back to... And Eluchi said that we cannot wait for 4 years. I agree with him. We cannot wait for... Why I'm not calling for violence? I wish we had a National Assembly. Because the president's infractions and his gross misconduct, they are all due for impeachment. But who's going to impeach the president? Who is going to lead it? Is it Akpabio? Or who? Or the Tajuddin Abbas? Or who? Who is in that National Assembly that have the capacity to even initiate it so that this man be impeached? And can he even be? All the democratic options we have to rewrite our stories, we don't have the representation that can activate it. So that's part of the problem.
Okay.
True. Well, I would have loved we continue on this, but of course, this is just about the size of our package for today, and we truly do appreciate all our discussants, those joining us virtually, and of course, Vice Chancellor, we have Olajumoke Olaude James. Thank you so very much for being part of our show. We truly do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Very much. here.
Thank you, Pastor Eze Luchi. Thank you so very much also for being part of our show. We truly do appreciate your time too.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and also hi Chief Peter Ame. Thank you so very much for always giving us your time whenever we do call. Thank you. I appreciate the time. And of course, we can end this without saying our big thank you to Pastor Van Sufeli.
Thank you, Brother.
Thank you
My
as
pleasure.
always so
My
for being
pleasure.
part of our show today. So with this just about the time we have, and we have to rest our discussion here. But of course, we can't do that without thanking you, most importantly, for joining us and watching wherever it is you have done that around the world. We'd love to say thank you to you. But please do well to visit our site at enterprisetvnews.com and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I'm Choma Okoye.
On behalf of the entire team, thank you for watching, and we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.